Good evening. This is Eswatini TV News Bulletin 8. We're coming to you live from the capital of the Kingdom of Eswatini, Mbabane. My name is Notile Sitole. First up, here's a look at tonight's headlines. His Majesty King Mswati III has received letters of credence from the Ambassador of Italy. The President of Botswana, who was in the Kingdom on a working visit, has left the country. The Kingdom of Eswatini has received around 2.7 million emalangeni, which will be used to improve the development of the country's French language. And now the news in detail. His Majesty King Mswati III says the bilateral relations between the Kingdom of Eswatini and the Republic of Italy will greatly benefit both countries in recovering their economies that were attacked by the COVID-19 pandemic. His Majesty said this during the presentation of the letter of credence by the Ambassador of Italy at Lozita Palace.
His Excellency Ambassador Gianni Bardini arrived at Lozita Palace to present the letter of credence following his appointment by the President to represent the Italian Republic in the Kingdom of Eswatini. The bilateral relations between the two countries are excellent in all domains. The two countries in May 2017 signed a memorandum of understanding which ensured their commitment to protect the environment. Under the context, two projects were successfully carried out, and they are the energy requalification of the REFUGEE Memorial Hospital and the strengthening of Eswatini early warning system and climate services. Presenting the letter of credence to His Majesty, the Ambassador assured the readiness and eagerness to work with the government of Eswatini for the benefit of both countries.
Your Majesty, may I please present Ambassador Designate of the Republic of Italy. Your Majesty, please.
I'm deeply honored to represent Italy in this wonderful country, so rich in history, traditions, and natural beauty. Our two countries are united by bonds of friendship, cooperation, and mutual respect. More in general, we look forward to any initiatives to promote the presence of Italian companies and investors in Eswatini. Italy is one of the most important manufacturing economies in Europe and in the world, excelling also in engineering, construction, infrastructure, and mechanics.
His Majesty King Mswati III said the relations between the Kingdom of Eswatini and the Republic of Italy have been existing for some years now. His Majesty said there is a lot that the Kingdom of Eswatini will learn or gain from Italy, since the Republic of Italy is a first world country.
We are, of course, looking forward that now that you have been appointed, we can look at other things that we can develop as two partners and so on. There are a lot of areas of cooperation which I think we need to improve. But of course, we are grateful of the ones which your country has already contributed. We are very much grateful of that. We do know that Italy is one of the countries which has reached the standard of being a first world country, and we are still in the process of trying to reach that goal. And of course, they say to invent a new wheel, it's not necessary. So countries like yours could share a lot of experience and ideas as to how your country has been able to reach that goal of first world, so that we too here in Eswatini can also reach that position.
The two countries are united by bonds of friendship, cooperation, and mutual respect. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Tabiso Dlamini at Lozita Palace.
The President of the Republic of Botswana, His Excellency Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, has left the Kingdom of Eswatini. His Excellency the President was in the country to strengthen bilateral relations between Eswatini and Botswana.
Good morning. Good morning.
Following the arrival of the President of Botswana, His Excellency Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, in the country, the President has left the Kingdom of Eswatini. The President departed through the King Mswati III International Airport. His Excellency the President was in the country to strengthen bilateral relations between the Kingdom of Eswatini and the Republic of Botswana. While in the country, His Excellency met with His Majesty King Mswati III and deliberated on strategies of developing both countries and also on ideas of how to curb the challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. His Excellency the President also paid a courtesy call on Her Majesty the Queen Mother. Present at the airport to see His Excellency take off was the acting Prime Minister, Senator Themba Masuku, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Senator Thuli Dladla. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia at the King Mswati III International Airport.
The Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, says the ministry is considering looking into the exportation of mushrooms. He says currently the production of mushrooms by local farmers is at 12%. The minister said this in a meeting with professors from South Africa who come with expertise on mushroom farming to assist the ministry.
The team of experts who met with the minister are professors originally from Taiwan who are here to extend their high knowledge on mushroom farming to the Ministry of Agriculture. The ministry introduced mushroom farming back in 1998, and since then it has made means to encourage the production of mushrooms by Eswatini. And as it stands, only 12% of farmers produce mushrooms in the country, and 150 have shown interest to produce them. On Thursday, the team of professors visited the Malkins Research Center, where the mushroom farmers are trained on the production of the different types of mushrooms. The Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, says the ministry is considering looking into the exportation of mushrooms. He says currently the production of mushrooms by local farmers stands at 12%. He says he hopes the project grows from small-scale farming to commercial farming and export industry as well.
Sifisile ke silidinga ukuthi le project ye mushroom ikhule nje sibili isuke kuba ku small scale igcine seyiku commercial value chain.
Philani Maswati chairperson Lutfo Dlamini says as an organization they are interested in working with the ministry on this project to benefit farmers in the rural areas.
Kunelithuba lokuthi singayena imbewu ibele emakhaya ecashe amaswati amaningi.
He says this project can also be an opportunity for some Eswatini in the rural areas who struggle to make ends meet get an opportunity to be employed. Reporting, I'm Lungile Makakula with Mbonga Dube in Babane.
The Minister of Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, says Eswatini has tasked newly appointed members of the National Refugee Advisory Committee and National Refugee Appeals Board to ensure that the country provides a conducive environment for refugees, asylum seekers and stateless people. The minister said this when commissioning the two boards.
Speaking in an event which marked the commencement of the work of the National Refugee Advisory Committee and the National Refugee Appeals Board, the Minister of Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, drew attention of the members to the fact that Eswatini is committed to international conventions and norms which safeguard the rights and welfare of refugees, stateless people, and asylum seekers. Eswatini is signatory to the Global Compact on Refugees and the Kampala Convention on the Protection and Assistance of Internally Displaced Persons in Africa. The minister says Eswatini is committed to creating an enabling environment within which asylum seekers, refugees, and stateless people are treated with dignity and respect. The minister says the government of Eswatini has made remarkable progress in the implementation of the National Action Plan to eradicate and prevent statelessness. The minister minister thanked the United Nations High Commission for Refugees for conducting the first ever refugee status determination workshop. The minister says His Majesty's government desires an effective and fair refugee status determination system that yields quality decisions and instills national confidence. The minister then urged members of these two boards to fully align their roles with the Refugees Act and the Handbook and Guidelines on criteria for refugee status determination. She promised that the Refugee Department in the ministry will work hard to provide data, support and information to the two boards. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu in Babane.
The Kingdom of Eswatini has been given 150,000 euros, an equivalent of 2.7 million emalangeni, which will be used to improve the development of the country's French language curriculum from primary schools all the way to tertiary education level. The Kingdom's funding was officially handed over to the Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, in an event held at the Ministry of Education.
The 2.7 million emalangeni, which was awarded to the Ministry of Education and Training, follows a rigorous application exercise where the ministry, through its French department, forwarded a proposal to the France Fonds Solidarité Priorité, an initiative established by the French government to help countries globally to develop the learning of French subjects. When presenting this funding assistance, the ambassador of France to Eswatini and Mozambique, David Izo, praised the Kingdom of Eswatini for submitting an impressive proposal which gave a detailed account of how exactly the funding will be used to develop French learning in Eswatini.
They wrote a proposal that was submitted to the French Ministry of Europe and Foreign Affairs last November. It's not a long time ago, only November. And we had the pleasure to hear of its approval in March 2021, just a few days ago. And I'm here, Minister. Minister, to confirm with great excitement that this project has been approved with a budget of 150,000 euro, which is approximately 2.7 million emalangeni. I would like to congratulate your French department, Minister, for their hard work in ensuring that the proposal is well articulated to warrant an approval, even though it was the first time that the Kingdom sought this kind of assistance.
The Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, described Eswatini's relationship with France as having borne many great benefits.
As a sign that our cooperation is growing in leaps and bounds, we are gathered here today to witness the launch of the FSPI FlashSwat project, a historic event on its own right.
Senior Inspector of French in the Ministry of Education and Training, Annelisa Stoffels, was praised for having played an important role in developing the proposal with the help of Alliance Francaise. And this ceremony, the ambassador, who is resident in Mozambique, and his team were then presented with gifts. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Muzim Konda in Babane.
The Elections and Boundaries Commission EBC informs the public to participate in civic and voter education meetings on the 10th of April 2021, which are to help educate Emaswati on the by-elections of Eswatini. O region, Ntonjeni constituency, Lomshio chiefdom will conduct its meeting at Ntonjeni constituency. Manzini region, Lamkapi, Shiseleni region under Metula constituency, Lomfa chiefdom and Shiseleni 1, Bonabulawe will all have their proceedings at their respective chiefdoms. These meetings will also proceed on the 11th of April 2021. Manzini region Lamkapi Tutusini chiefdom will have the proceedings at Ekoshete, and Shiseleni region Matsanjeni South constituency at Gatina Banye chiefdom will hold the meeting at Pumelela Primary School. Kwaluseni and Komintaba are to proceed at their chiefdoms. These meetings will start at 9 a.m. The announcement is made by the chairperson of the EPC, Prince Mtlaplangeni. The Minister of Education, or rather the Minister of Natural Resources and Energy, Peter Pembe, has announced the new Eswatini Electricity Company Board of Directors, which is chaired by Dr. Philip Nisi. The Minister has urged the members to ensure that the development of the thermal power plant project at Lupugu is realized by the year 2026.
The newly appointed board of directors of the Eswatini Electricity Company, headed by Dr. Phil Mnisi, consists of those that have been recently appointed and those that have served in the board for almost a year. These are Princess Sibahle, Hlopsile Nzimanze, Thandazile Dlamini, Henry Shongwe, Esau Zwane, Velile Dlamini, and Winnie Stewart. The minister, Peter Bembe, says the board is mandated to ensure that the thermal power plant project at Lupugu is realized by the year 2026.
Central to the country's energy security challenges is the provision of base load. Thus, the development of the thermal power plant at Lupugu has been identified as a key to close the gap. The plant will not only self-sufficiently, but will boost the country's economy through job creation in the power, mining, and other economic sectors, such as transport and other services. The government relies on the EEC to ensure that this project is realized by 2025.
The chairperson, Dr. Phil Mnisi, says as the board, they will work harder to ensure the mandate is fulfilled and work closely with the ministry to ensure that set targets are met.
As we take this responsibility, Honourable Minister, we are cognizant of the great work our predecessors have done. It is with humility and care that we undertake to work even harder to ensure that the mandate of EEC is fulfilled in the nation.
Reporting, I'm Lungulela Makakula with Mbangwatube Zulwini.
Senators continued with the exercise of reviewing standing orders to align them with modern times. Senate President Lindiwe Dlamini says the standing orders will be reviewed so that they could also accommodate the Senate sittings held virtually.
The reviewing of the Senate Chamber's standing orders started before the national budget was tabled in Parliament in February, but it had to be paused as senators had to attend to the budget. Senate President Lindiwe Dlamini says the standing orders were last reviewed in the year 2007. She says the committee has completed looking into virtual standing orders.
Now that we've started looking at that part, let's overhaul the whole standing orders because when you look at them, they were last done in 2007. So we started with the whole committee, with all the senators, and then we realized this is going to take much longer. So we've again taken it back to the Standing Orders Committee, and they've done an excellent work. It's important that the standing orders are in line with the times that we're in, particularly in light of COVID-19, so that we're able to work virtually. So we have on your right, we have the legal team, and then on the left we have all the senators in the Standing Orders Committee. So we go through each and every standing order and see if it is still relevant. If it is not relevant, we change it to what makes sense today.
The meeting is held at the Mountain Inn, and it is expected that after the Standing Orders Committee has finished looking into the standing orders, the rest of the senators will also have a chance to look at the standing orders. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Mountain Inn.
Members of Parliament have declared their assets to the Eswatini Human Rights Commission and Public Administration. Speaking during the ceremony, House of Assembly Speaker Petros Mavimbela says the declaration of assets by members of Parliament is in line with Section 241 of the country's constitution.
The country's statutes dictate that members of Parliament should declare their assets to the Commission on Human Rights and Public Administration after being elected to their positions. The same thing applies after being in Parliament for 2 years and even when their 5-year term elapses. House of Assembly Speaker Petros Mavimbela says the declaration of assets by members of Parliament is in line with the country's constitution. He expresses his appreciation to the Commission on Human Rights and Public Administration for making time to allow the MPs to declare.
Lokhu lesikwendako namuhla sikwenda ngokuthi silandzele wona umthetho sisekelo section 241 losigunyatako lokuthi siyothi nasesingene office sikwende lokho sivele mbekelo obvious ukuthi sinanako.
Commission on Human Rights and Public Administration Commissioner Sabelo Masuku says it is important for public officers to declare their assets.
Ube ngumsebenzi losebaleni kufanele ukuthi basebente kuleto khundla leto ngendlela lengasiyo lefihlekile.
House of Assembly Chairperson Mabulala Maseko thanked the House of Assembly Speaker Petros Mavimbela for inviting the Commission on Human Rights and Public Administration so members of Parliament could have a chance to declare their assets. Maseko says now that MPs have declared their assets, other top government officials should follow suit.
Njengoba phela sima parliamentarians sibantu labasebenza umthetho and kufanele sibe exemplary. Bonke abantu babuke thina ukuthi ngebe lo mthetho sohambisa njani.
It was expected that by close of business on Thursday all members of parliament will have declared their assets. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Bawethu Sithole, Parliament.
The Ministry of Dinkundla and Administration has donated COVID-19 personal protective equipment to the Ministry of Home Affairs worth over 300,000 emalangeni. The equipment was handed over by the Ministry of Dinkundla and Administration Principal Secretary Nonhlanhla Dlamini to her colleague Nhlanhla Nxumalo in the Ministry of Home Affairs.
The personal protective equipment which has been donated by the Ministry of Dinkundla and Administration to the Ministry of Home Affairs includes 4-way screen protector, an ID enrollment protector among others. The personal protective equipment was handed over by the Ministry of Dinkundla and Administration Principal Secretary Nonhlanhla Dlamini to the Ministry of Home Affairs Principal Secretary Nhlanhla Nxumalo. The PPEs will be used by the Ministry of Home Affairs workers at the Ministry's service centers.
We have seen as we're working during the COVID-19 era, our employees, the civil servants, were getting infected, and you'd find that sometimes workstations have to be closed down because they got infected. So we thought it's necessary and prudent to buy this personal protective clothing so that they are protected as they serve the public. Today is a ceremony to hand over.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs, Nhlanhla Nxumalo, thanks the Ministry of Dinkundla and Administration for the assistance, adding that it came at the right time when the ministry's workers were in need of.
This will go a long way in terms of ensuring that we will all be protected as we serve one another. Once again, we are so much grateful to the Ministry of Dinkundla Administration. We take this opportunity and thank them on behalf of the Minister of Home Affairs and the entire ministry and staff.
At the time the donation was made, the personal protective equipment was already on the way to be delivered at the Ministry of Home Affairs service centers. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Bawethu Sithole Mbabane.
A very good evening once again. You are still watching Eswatini TV. Here's a look at our sports news. Acting Chief Executive Officer of Eswatini Olympic Commonwealth Games Association, Maxwell Jayler, says the country has already submitted a provisional list of 7 athletes to represent Eswatini at the upcoming Olympic Games in Tokyo this year. The submitted athletes are all still in qualifiers, where the final list is yet to be confirmed after the qualifiers. Jayler was speaking to Eswatini TV Sports in Mbabane.
The 2020 Olympic Games are scheduled to take place in Japan from the 23rd of June this year. The Kingdom of Eswatini has already submitted a provisional list of athletes likely to represent the country in the Games to the International Olympic Committee. The athletes are Subsiso Matsenjwa, Prumuli Nziniza and Andy Lusenga from Athletics Association, Zweli Dlamini and Tabiso Dlamini from Boxing Association, and Robin Young together with Smanga Dlamini from Swimming Association. Eswatini Olympic Commonwealth Games Association Acting Chief Executive Officer Maxwell Jayler says the submitted list is a provisional one, which means not all the athletes will make it for the Games in June, as qualifiers are still ongoing.
These athletes have been provisionally accredited in the sense that they are actually still trying to meet the qualification criteria in their individual sporting codes. all the athletes are currently training. They are hard at training. Some of them are in South Africa at the High Performance Center. Others are training locally, and others also training abroad.
Chair concluded by highlighting that the International Olympic Committee did specify that no spectators will be allowed to the Games due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. He says that will also affect the number of delegates to accompany the athletes. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera with Linda Dlamini, Mbabane.
Moneni Pirates star player Eswatini says he is working tirelessly to ensure that he becomes this year's Premier League top scorer. Eswatini has already netted 2 goals for his club in 3 games played by his team this season. Eswatini was speaking to Eswatini TV Sports in Manzini.
Moneni Pirates striker Eswatini played a pivotal role for his side in last year's edition of the Premier League of Eswatini to assist his team finishing in the top 6. In the new campaign of the 2020-2021, Eswatini has already netted twice for his club as he continues his work to become this year's top scorer.
Ezweni umdlali uthi cabangela ukuthi bowenda ngasizini ufuna ukuthi keep on pushing ushala uma breaks ungayi ukuthi ezwa players sivumelene ngokuthi.
He says that it's been always in his mind as he prepares to ensure that he gets on the score sheet as the best. Eswatini says from there, he will then begin on how he can move outside the country and start playing internationally.
I'm forward ukuthi nathi singakhona as young players ukuthi sikhona isipusha ukuthi nathi sifike abakhona khona.
Currently, he plays for the under-23 national team, but it also remains in his dreams to soon get a call-up in the senior national team. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera with Linda Dlamini, Manzini.
That's all we had for you this evening. Before we wrap up, let's have a look at tonight's headlines.
His Majesty King Mswati III has received letters of credence from the ambassador of Italy. The president of Botswana, who was in the kingdom on a working visit, has left the country. The Kingdom of Eswatini has received around 2.7 million emalangeni, which will be used to improve the development of the country's French language.
Well, Eswatini, that brings us to the end of our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team here at Eswatini TV. Thank you for watching. Good night.